Glen Campbell, the country music legend and six-time Grammy winner, died in Nashville on Tuesday. He was 81. Campbell was known for such crossover hits as Rhinestone Cowboy, Wichita Linesman, and Galveston. He sold more than 45 million records and had 21 top 40 hits. Tom Petty said of Campbell, he had that beautiful tenor with a crystal clear guitar sound, playing lines that were so inventive. Gentleman name is Patrick Doyle. He is the senior editor at Rolling Stone. He wrote his first feature for the magazine on Glen Campbell in 2011. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
How do you remember him?
Extremely kind. I went to L.A. to his house where right after he announced that he had Alzheimer's and he was going to be going on his final tour. And he was a nice Southern man. You know, he was from Arkansas, and he made you feel right at home. And
what made Rhinestone Cowboy so popular?
I think that it came after a dark period for him. He was a huge star in the late 60s. He
was such a star that in 1968 he outsold the Beatles.
Yes, but then that kind of went away for a while, and he stopped having hits. And so Rhinestone Cowboy was sort of a comeback for him, and it was sort of him kind of his mission statement, you know. Mm-hmm. So he remember that was one of the last songs when I was talking to him. He had trouble remembering that song, which was difficult to know because he couldn't remember what was radio or rodeo, Star Spangled Radio, and so, but he was just his kids all backed him on that tour, that final tour. So he just kind of, it was a very family oriented thing.
And what was his craft? What was he? When you recognize him for his musicality, what would you say about him?
Well, I would say it's very sentimental music. It's music that didn't get a lot of credit at the time. Tom Petty, who you mentioned, was saying that it was sort of uncool at the time to like Glen Campbell because it was more cool to be into the Beatles and everything else. But he would sneak off and listen to that music. It was he had a very clear tenor voice, but it had all this emotion behind it, and you could hear the sadness in his voice, and it was just a lot of strings and slick music, but the songs were so good. He did a lot of songs by Jimmy Webb, like Wichita Lineman.
He was a great songwriter.
Excellent, yeah, and so he was the perfect person to sing Jimmy Webb songs. He was a real talent that I hope will get more people listen to him now.
Thank you for coming, Patrick.
Thank you, Charlie. I really appreciate it.
Here's a bit more about Glen Campbell.
Glen Campbell has lost a very public, very courageous battle with the cruelest of diseases. He died today of Alzheimer's, surrounded by his family in Nashville. He was 81.
I'm happy to be here. In fact, I'm happy to be anywhere.
Glen Campbell was country music's first crossover star.
It's a good song. I like a good song, you know.
You never thought of yourself as a country singer?
No.
One of 12 children of an Arkansas sharecropper, Glen first picked up a guitar at age 4. He was a natural. By the early 60s, he'd played his way to L.A., Though he couldn't read music, Campbell quickly became one of the most sought-after guitarists in the city. You started getting a lot of session work.
Yeah, it was great, man. I bought a car.
One of an elite group of studio musicians known as the Wrecking Crew. In 1963 alone, Campbell performed on nearly 600 cuts for other artists.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were
And when Brian Wilson took time off from the Beach Boys, Campbell filled in for 6 months, as he told me in an interview for CBS Sunday Morning in 2012.
I had to go with him on a gig and play bass and sang his part. It was like, it's a little